Do you love a game with hexagons? How about a tile laying game with not 1, 2, but actually 3 hexagons all joined together? Then this board game might be your very jam. Akropolis is a board game that will tickle the brain, intrigue the mind, and forces you to look at puzzles from a different perspective. 6 different sides, that is. It's a hexy puzzle of abstract perfection, nuanced player interaction, all wrapped in the theme of building a patchwork city. Hey Danny, what do you think we should have for dinner? I'm thinking pizza. So, do you want the usual? Pepperoni, capsicum, and a touch of different victory point scoring conditions on the side? I'm on it. Here we are, pizza's ready. I love tile laying games. Imagine a city where gardens blossom, the streets are bustling, and the residents are happy. Sounds like a dream, doesn't it? In Akropolis, you play as gargantuan giants who draft tiles from this trail of city tiles crafted by Gaia herself. The aim of this game is to build a thriving city that rises above the rest, one where your districts tower over your opponents and maximizes the scoring potential based on the way you build it. Building a city requires planning, ingenuity, and crafting. These tri-hex tiles might just be the perfect shape to stand out from cities who pay tribute to the ever-boring quadrilateral. In each round, players take turns taking tiles from the market. The first tile is always free. However, reaching tiles further up the market trail requires players to spend 1 stone each time. The intriguing mechanic here is that as tiles get taken, the cost to purchase tiles at the end of the track decreases. So whilst having first pick offers you all the choices, going last makes it cheaper. This seesaw of economic versus architectural accomplishment provides a subtle edge to the gameplay. Another ingenious mechanic in this game is the ability to build upwards towards the heavens. If you have a foundation of 3 hexes from at least 2 different tiles, a new tile can be placed on top covering what is below. If a grey quarry is covered, earn a stone. If you cover a coloured hex space, that district is lost in the ruins of history. The value of each district hex increases based on its height. A blue residential area that is on the 3rd level will be worth 3 at game's end. Plazas are like your prestigious Beverly Hills style-esque areas. It's like a council's version of a TripAdvisor rating. The number of stars you have in a particular colour will be your multiplying factor at the end of that game. Yes, this game has maths, but it's beautiful maths that flourishes and blooms. Each district colour in the game scores differently. Blue residential score based on your largest connected group. Yellow commercial areas score based on their isolation. Red outposts need to be positioned on the periphery. Purple temples need to be completely surrounded, whilst the green areas score for however many you have in your entire city. This kaleidoscopic pastiche version of city building has you constantly figuring, configuring, and readjusting your city's grand plans. In terms of theme integration, the title Akropolis means high city, and it really ties in well with what you're trying to achieve in the game as you place these tri-hexagonals on top of each other to increase the value of your district so they can score big points at the end of the game. The box cover kind of looks like the opening trailer scene as you stand on top of your city, as you look out over into the water and the harbour, over into the sunset. I like how the designers have leaned into the theme through the scoring of the different types of districts. You've got these military outposts that score medium value points, and then you've got these residential areas that score low level points, but they're easier to obtain. You've even got parks, which are kind of little nature reserves where the residents of the city can escape to try and get away from the bustling nature of the city itself, and making those more valuable to the citizens is part of how the scoring has kind of been tweaked, which I like. When you consider the strategic decisions that players have to make in a game of Akropolis, it seems super simple on the surface, but it's like walking into a branching tunnel of different pathways and turning around and realizing you didn't know which tunnel you used to get into the place in the first place. I like the spatial decision making that players have to make. The fact that you can place your tiles anywhere on the edge of other previous existing tiles means that there's so many different choices that you can make on your turn. And the choices that you make now are going to impact your next turn and where you're going to place your next plaza tile. Because ultimately, you really want to build upwards. And in order to build upwards, you need to lay the foundations first. I also like the split decision making that you have to make. Do you take a tile with a district or quarry so that you can get more stones? Or do you take a tile that has a plaza on it so you can increase the strength of your multiplier at the end of the game? And it's really important to make sure that you have enough plaza tiles that matches the districts that you want to score, because those plaza tiles are the only way that will guarantee that you'll score those areas. So there's no point taking a lot of green parks if you don't have any green plazas. Now, when it comes to building a city, we all know that you need resources, and stone is super important in this game. I love how the stone mechanic works. The idea that stones encourage you to build higher and higher up, creating a triomino section of your city where you place a tile on top of it to get 3 stones is a very satisfying combo. And the idea of when it comes to your turn and having lots of stones in your supply means that you get free pick of any of the tiles that are out on display. Whereas a player who only has 1 or maybe 0 stones is forced to pick the tile that's at the front of the market row. That creates such an interesting dynamic of fluctuating choices. On one round, you'll be limited to maybe 1 or 2 tiles that you can pick from, and other rounds you might have the full scope of all of the tiles in the market. And this brings me to the most interesting point of the game, the nuanced player-to-player interaction. Whilst most players are going to be playing multiplayer solitaire, there's a nuanced level of tension that is interwoven into the tile selection process. I found myself constantly referring to the street directory of different plaza cards to try and calculate how many different plaza tiles of a particular district type were yet to come. And as you get further and further towards the end of the game, you realize that, there's only one commercial district plaza tile that have yet to be picked. And if you've heavily invested and leaned into commercial districts, you really want to nab that tile. So you need to have enough stones so that you can make sure that you're guaranteed that selection. And if a player takes that plaza tile from you, that could completely obliterate your game altogether. And I love that kind of, I'm going to interact with your city, but not in a direct way. I'm going to evoke some sort of political interaction based on what sort of districts I want to commission in my city. You know what? I might need a commercial plaza tile, even though I can see that that's what you've invested in. That level of communication and thought process is something that just makes this game rise. And it's also interesting to look at the pieces of your city close up. It's interesting to note that some of these tiles feature 2 quarries and 1 colored district. Those are really good for building the foundations and the base level of your city. But as you get further and further to the 3rd and possibly 4th level, you really want to be picking these tiles here, the one that features all 3 district colors. And that helps you to finish off and complete 3 different areas and scoring conditions at the same time, yielding you maximum points. And it's a really great strategy that I've uncovered in my plays. And with that, Akropolis is an ever-expanding city. It does include a double scoring variant where if you satisfy different district conditions, you get to score double points for that district at the end of the game, increasing the replay value of this game. Yet in terms of the replay value, there is a ceiling effect that this game does have. If you play this game 10, 20 times, you do feel like you're going through the same motions and trying to score things in similar ways. And the ultimate longevity of the game is something that I do question, and I know that you can kind of house rule different scoring conditions or mix and match some of the double scoring. And I know the base game scoring occurs whether you're playing the double scoring variant or not. Creating your own tailored scoring version for this game is really simple to do, and I can see in future expansions that they might introduce special city scoring tiles, determine on the spatial arrangement of your city. You might even have dual colored district tiles which scores for both colors. And I think those added little elements would make Akropolis an even better game. Now, before I get to my final verdict and scoring, please consider liking this video or subscribing to my channel if you want more wholesome board game content. And if you really like the content that I make, please head over to my Patreon page or check out some of the plethora of other board game content on my channel. So in considering my scoring, Akropolis is an awesome puzzly gateway game. In fact, it was on my must-play list of 2022, and I'm so glad that I got the chance to play this game because it definitely met a lot of my expectations. Whilst it is a game that feels a lot more abstract, it will appeal to players who are new to the hobby. It is an excellent gateway game that I would definitely recommend for someone who's looking to add a thinky puzzle to their board game collection. So for my score for new gateway gamers into the hobby, I give Akropolis an 8 out of 10. If you're a seasoned, experienced gamer and you already have games like Calico, Cascadia, which this game definitely leans and emanates towards, I'd probably rate Akropolis a 7 out of 10. It is definitely one that's going to stay in my collection, and I've thoroughly enjoyed playing it, and I hope there's more to explore in the years to come. And so with that, what are your thoughts on Akropolis? Please let me know in the comments section below. I just want to say a huge shout out to all my Patreon supporters. Your name are going to appear in the credits right at the end of this video. This is Danny signing out. See you again soon. Goodbye.